Welcome to The Juggle is Real. I'm Andryanna, and if you're listening to this episode on the day it comes out, we are officially 1 week before Christmas, that tender stretch of time where the excitement is high, the routines are a little looser, the emotions are closer to the surface, and many of us parents were quietly holding a lot. And so this episode is intentionally a little different. I wanted to create something that feels really supportive, grounding, and steady, something that can remind us that during one of the busiest weeks of the year, we might be listening while we're wrapping gifts or doing errands, taking on the grocery store, or maybe we're taking a quiet moment to ourselves, which is amazing. I wanted that reminder that we are in it together, and I wanted to share some advice from some 2025 guest expert interviews that are short, powerful reminders that speak directly to what we are navigating right now as we head into the holidays. So, we're going to hear from registered psychotherapist Kathryn Flynn on nervous system regulation and some of the little pieces of advice that she has for parents. Clinical psychologist Dr. Kristine Laderoute on anxiety and the judgment we might feel around the holidays. We're hearing from parenting experts and incredible mom duo Kat and Nat on screen time, boundaries, and communication with our kids, and some great clips from leading relationship and family expert Dr. Mary Marano on staying connected with your partner during demanding seasons and that thread of connection. I'm going to share the episode numbers, the dates they were released, and the titles as we go in case you want to return to the full conversation later, which I totally recommend. I could only select little clips and little snippets, but at the end of this episode, I'm actually also going to read something very meaningful, so stick around for the end. Hopefully I can get through it without crying. Just listening to it or reading it makes me tear up, but it's a short essay called A Love Letter to Right Now. It just really puts this season and this stage of life into perspective in a way that feels especially poignant at Christmas. And I'm already starting to tear up. So good luck to me towards the end of the episode. But anyway, this is going to be super helpful. And let's begin with all the things that sit at the root of so much holiday stress, which is our nervous system. Let's dive right in.
This is the Juggle is Real podcast. I hope you feel seen, that you realize your worth, lighten your load, and prioritize your own needs. As we hear from leading experts and well-known faces in the wellness, entrepreneurship, education, and motherhood space, I hope you gain insights, proven practices, and learn actionable tools to help you enjoy the juggle of work, family, and everything in between with a little less stress and a lot more ease, joy, and fun. Most of all, I hope you find what you need to simplify, streamline, and supercharge your own journey of better balance and self-love. Are you with me? Let's get started.
This episode of The Juggle is Real is supported by Braun Series 9 Pro Plus. There's always one person on our holiday list who's impossible to shop for, and for me, it's my husband. And you might be in the same boat with the guy who says he doesn't need anything or who would just never indulge in something really good for himself. So this year, I want to share a gift that's practical and premium, something that he will use just about every single day, and it's going to elevate his daily routine. The Braun Series 9 Pro Plus shaver. It delivers a super close barbershop fresh shave without irritation. Whether it's a 1-day, 3-day, or a 7-day beard, it's efficient, gentle, and will make his morning routine smoother. What makes it special are the details. 5 synchronized Pro Shave elements, including the Pro Lift blade that lifts and cuts even the trickiest of hairs, a new built-in Precision Pro trimmer with surgical grade steel, AutoSense technology that adapts to beard density, a fully waterproof design, and a powerful lithium-ion battery. And because it's 100% made in Germany with up to 2 years of warranty, it is built to last. But the reason I think it's such a great gift is because it feels like an indulgence. but it's rooted in everyday value. It adds a touch of self-care in his routine without adding extra steps, just comfort, precision, and a more confident start to the day. So if you're looking for something meaningful for the man who has everything or deserves a little extra care, the Braun Series 9 Pro Plus is a really thoughtful choice. You can find it online at Amazon or at major retailers. Now let's get back to the episode. So let's get into sharing some of these really helpful clips that weren't recorded for the holiday season, but I think are especially important as we head into Christmas and the holidays and the kids being home. Earlier this year, I spoke with Kathryn Flynn, a registered psychotherapist, in episode 151, which was released on May 29th. The title is Regulate, Respond, Repair, Parenting Through a Nervous System Lens. I loved this episode. And if you go back to listen, you will hear so many little things that I'm asking, like, as a parent, little things that happen that were stressful from like mornings or going to the store, going to the mall with my kids, all of these little things that add up that she was so helpful in responding to with such an understanding and an empathy, but also with really supportive tools that can help us. So as we head into the holidays with full calendars, excited kids, disrupted routines, and very little margin, Kathryn's words feel especially relevant. In this clip, she explains why our nervous systems and our kids' nervous systems are often on overdrive and what it helps to understand as we move through this busy season together. Let's listen.
Our nervous systems are always trying to regulate our whole system, like our bodies. And so they are always scanning. There's a particular region of the brain that's doing it, the amygdala. With kids, I call it the Amy brain. And the Amy brain is always scanning for, am I okay? Am I not okay? Okay, not okay. And it's scanning everything you take in through all of your senses, including your mind. So in some other systems, like in some philosophy and spiritual systems, the mind is considered a sense, right? And that makes sense if you know that your nervous system has been really regulated. Maybe you're doing Shavasana in a yoga class, and then all of a sudden you wonder if you left the sprinkler on. Right. And like you were so relaxed and now you're not because of a thought. So our brains are always scanning for our state because what it needs to do is to help motivate us. Right. That's really what the stress response and the survival response is. It mediates motivation. When we're super relaxed, we feel much less motivation because we feel much less threat.
Mm-hmm.
When we are in a stress response, our Amy brains are scanning and saying, like, not okay, not okay. So you got to put the gas on. Right. And so we're highly motivated to create change, to change the situation, which is why those circles of concern I mentioned are so impactful. And to bring it to children, right? We are worrying about our kids and our parenting so much that we are frequently in a place of we're not okay, they're not okay, which means I'm not okay. Something needs to change. Our children, because they're humans, their nervous systems are attuning to our nervous system.
Okay.
Right? You don't even need a relationship. Bodies attune, they meet the heart and breath rates of the bodies around them, which is why you've walked into a room before and been like, I don't know what happened in here, but I do not like the energy in here. It's because your nervous system is already coming up to meet the upregulation in the room.
Mm.
So when we upregulate, our kids can hear it before they can even see it. And it's measurable. When our voices are stressed, other humans' inner ears, the middle ear, actually registers your voice at a lower volume. They literally,
Wow.
because they're already registering, we're not okay. Right now, what's happening is your kiddo, through their behavior, is conveying that even though you've set the expectation, when I call you, you come upstairs, they can't do that. And so what happens in our nervous systems, you set that expectation, kiddo can't do it, but you've said it. So you start to upregulate because we think that things happen and then we react to them. But actually, our nervous system is sending out resources, hormones, neurotransmitters, reactions to the moment it perceives coming.
Mm.
So if you're upstairs and you don't see your kiddo and it's time to go, your nervous system, your brain's already like, well, I don't know what's going on because your brain doesn't actually know what's going on. It just knows what's happening in your body.
Mm-hmm.
The last time we were in this state, you needed more stress hormones. So here they are. Here's some
Mm-hmm.
gas, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're already predicting, bet they're not going to come. Here we are again. Here we go again. And then that prediction upregulates you. So your voice upregulates. And even if you're not upregulated, I was actually going to tell you this later, but in my family, we have what we call a faces rule. And the faces rule, it really just means we're not going to talk to each other unless we've got faces.
Okay.
So no yelling across the house, no yelling between floors. And that's because even if you're like just yelling something like dinner, even if you're actually pretty okay, again, you yell and your brain doesn't know what's going on. So your brain's like, oh, the last time you were yelling, you weren't okay. So have some stress hormone. We acknowledge that transitions need time, right? So if your setup requires your kiddo to make the transition off the screen in 2 minutes, you're not giving them enough buffer. The transition actually takes 5 minutes. And the transition might need to be your physical human presence, putting a hand on their body to cut through the noise of the screen,
Yes.
being like, hey, bud, right? Time to go. Because if you close the gap between you and your kiddo, you are less likely to yell, right? Which is less likely to upregulate you, less likely to upregulate them. And you put your finger right on it. We need to check in. Co-regulation requires us to check in with ourselves before making that connection, right? Like, where am I at? And especially if you're in a high stress time, recognizing like, okay, this is going to be a tough week. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes that means like kind of faking it till you make it. So if you know your voice is going to get loud and flat, kind of putting it on a little bit. Your kids will hear through it, but it's better than the shouting.
So helpful. Okay, another layer that often intensifies during the holidays is anxiety. That's for both parents and kids. So, in episode 153, which was released on June 12th, titled Anxiety, Assertiveness, and the Art of Emotional Recovery, I spoke with Dr. Kristine Laderoute, a clinical psychologist at Loom. In this clip, Dr. Laderoute shares an important insight about how judgment from others and ourselves can heighten stress, especially when our kids might be dysregulated, out of routine, or behaving in ways that feel harder to manage during the holidays. This is such a grounding reminder as we head into those gatherings, into the school break, and into high expectation moments. Let's listen.
One thing that I think can help is to distinguish, as you said, between like, is this uncomfortable or is this dangerous? Right? Anxiety symptoms, when they come up, they can feel dangerous, right? That's what like people having panic attacks often feel like they're having a heart attack. And so it can be scary. If you know that you're anxious, it's not dangerous, it's really uncomfortable.
And so if you can kind of make that distinction in your mind, like, is this dangerous or is this uncomfortable? Okay, it's uncomfortable. This is a stressful meeting. It feels intense. I don't really want to be here. I am here. Okay, so, but it's not dangerous. Like, I'm safe for the most part, physically safe. And how can I now kind of like send signals to my nervous system that I don't need all this. I don't need all this physiological reactivity, right? So that's where you, even in a meeting, you could always engage breathing, slow your breathing, deepen your breathing, and kind of remind yourself, okay, this is uncomfortable, but it's not dangerous, just to prevent from the escalation of the nervous system to full on panic. I think one of the things that often contributes to like stress heightening there is this feeling like of judgment, right? Oh my God, like what are people thinking? Or judging yourself, right? Like, oh, what kind of parent am I? Like, I can't get my kid to, just be quiet and like wait in the grocery line. And so, um, a lot of times, if we can notice that idea of like, how much are we judging ourselves, or how much are we concerned that other people are judging us here, and try to get a bit of separation from that. Like, so separating ourselves from that judgment might look like, this moment in the grocery store is not a measure of my parenting, right? Like, this is not a label of me as a parent. This is like a moment in time. Toddlers do this, right? If people don't understand, like, let them, they don't understand. Right? I can't, it's not my job to make them understand right now. If they're judging me, well, I won't know it. um, like, can they? Like, what's the worst case scenario if they're judging me? Like, almost sometimes we get so caught up in this idea of, okay, but we have to, everybody has to fall in line and we have to behave in a certain way and it has to look okay. If we can get away from that, it's a little bit like, okay, this is uncomfortable. I wish my toddler wasn't throwing themselves on the floor. I'm really tired and I don't want to be dealing with this. But this is not necessarily like an anxious situation where, I need to pull this together and everybody's depending on me. This is just like people are inconvenienced and so am I. And it sucks, but I don't need to kind of feel fearful about what does it say about me as a parent? What does it say about my kid? Um, and just leave it at this is a moment in time in my toddler's proper development. And I don't like it. And I can't wait for it to be over. There's a little bit of a difference there between going into anxiety. So one of the ideas about helping to mitigate anxiety can be removing the judgment. So the other thing, just as we're talking, I would think that can also be helpful is to apply self-compassion, which I think is something that I'm starting to talk more and more about with people that most of us don't understand and just have never learned to do. And it's this idea of even in that moment being like, wow, this is really hard for me right now. Like, I'm really stuck in this grocery store with this kid and I like really can't get them to cooperate. And everybody's looking at me like, okay, like I'm gonna take care of myself after this. Like, as opposed to judging, it's like, yeah, this is a really hard moment. Of course it's hard. Of course this feels uncomfortable for me right now. I often say getting into self-compassion, an easy way is to just start a sentence with the words of course. Like, of course, like I feel embarrassed right now. This is awkward, but like, okay, doesn't mean it's a judgment on my parenting.
This episode is supported by Whirlpool. You might know we recently moved into a new house and there is so much on the go and so many emotions. There is so much excitement. There's tons of boxes still everywhere and pictures still to be hung. And there's many moments where we have been saying, where is my fill in the blank? And we're slowly settling in. But in the middle of it all, I realized something. And that is that your routines don't magically come with you. You have to rebuild them. One dinner, one drawer, one dishwasher cycle at a time. And honestly, I can say that Whirlpool has been such a big part of helping our family settle in and find that flow again. I love our new French door fridge. It has tons of space and flexible storage that we need for all the game day snacks and school lunches. And I have a designated snack zone so that I don't have to hear, Mom, I'm hungry, every 5 minutes. The kids know where they can go to get a snack. I also love the Whirlpool 30-inch range. I think it's been my favorite. It has a wipe clean coating on the cooktop, so, when the inevitable pasta sauce spills or soup or scrambled eggs, I can literally just wipe it clean with water. No scrubbing, no harsh cleaners, just water, wait, and wipe. Honestly, it's amazing. And of course, anyone with kids or a busy household knows that the cleanup is constant, but my new Whirlpool dishwasher has total coverage wash, so everything comes out clean, no matter who loads the dishwasher. I'm talking about my husband. And then that third rack on the dishwasher is perfect for my little guy sippy cups. It fits mugs, little bowls, utensils, and those hockey night little snack plates. It truly handles it all. And so it's true what they say, that when the kitchen runs smoothly, the whole home feels more calm. And in this season of life, with school, sports, work, and just everything, those little pockets of ease really matter. So if you're in a full season too, or you're dreaming up your own fresh start at home, check out the Whirlpool lineup to see how they're making family life more functional at whirlpool.ca. Because home isn't just where life happens, it's where routines take root. And when your space supports you, everything else just flows a little easier. Now let's get back to the episode. I love how she explains that. Now, moving on with school being out and kids being home more, I think the screen time conversations can often become more charged during the holidays and during the break. I had the pleasure of speaking with Kat Nat in episode 145, which was released on April 17th. The title is Parenting Teens in a Digital World, What Every Parent Needs to Know. Now, Kat and Nat are the creators of the Screen Sense Guide. And in this clip, they share practical, compassionate advice on boundaries, on communication and understanding our kids, helping reduce those screen time battles while keeping connection front and center, especially during the holiday breaks, which can feel long. And if you're still trying to work while your kids are home, this might be especially helpful. Let's take a listen.
I think it's like, do we lock the door at nighttime? Can people break in even though the door is locked? 100%. Do people wear seatbelts when they get in the car? Can they still get in accidents? 100%. I think that we've gone too far and being like, it doesn't like, they've got it. I've heard so many parents just kind of like, now they got it anyways. Like it's too late for me. And I think that what we're learning, and we've updated it constantly, the guide, to the point where we have to go to like a monthly update, like a monthly model going forward, because everything is changing constantly, as you know. But what we're learning is kids want boundaries. Like we've talked to therapists, we've sent our guide to therapists, and they're like, I love all of this. No one's doing this. It'd be great to have this, this, and this in it. So we've gone and updated that. Kids are going to therapy over the phones, 100%, like the social media apps, the use, everything. So I think that once parents understand kids thrive on boundaries and rules and they don't feel good on their phones. And I'm not saying take their phones away. I'm saying we have to teach them the way to use them. And I think that that's what's missed on here. It's all or nothing. That's what it feels like. Our kids are screwed. They're all doomed. Their mental health is crap. So, and then it's like, congratulations, you've won nothing. Phones are designed to be problematic. And that's what all the therapists have said is it is an actual dopamine problem. And phones are designed for you to want to be on them at all costs.
And they're also designed for some really, really helpful educational reasons. And that's why we gave them to our kids.
I think that the sad thing is that parents are also really distracted by their phones, is like what we're hearing too, is so that there isn't as much time for everyone to connect. And a lot of it is us leading by example and making space. Like we can tell them to get off their phones, but kids inherently want to be good and please their parents. Like most kids aren't like, I hate my parents. Like they don't know how to connect with you, like you're saying. And I think when you everyone puts their phone down and you make a conscious effort to have, like, as cheesy as it is, if you can find like a family dinner, like without devices. We even give you these techniques in the Screen Sense Guide. I really don't want my kids on the phone in the car, because I think there is time to foster communicate. You can talk. People begin to talk, and I'm like, put your phone in the freaking glove box so you're not distracted by it, and you can look around and have a conversation. I think just small habits. My kids will all go on a walk with me to this day, which blows my mind, and they talk so much that I'm like, oh my gosh, you have so much to say. That's not for every kid. I think it's just finding ways, that is what was fun for them when they were little, and how can you recreate that? And it's watching a show without your phone. Like, that means a lot to them when you're actually doing something without your phone too, or not working and doing the thing. A lot of parents are like, well, I'm working and I make money and you don't. It's sort of like, I think we have to make more space for them to talk. And I think when you do a forced connection, unfortunately it doesn't work as well. But the conversations that happen in the kitchen when I'm cooking and they're around and like buzzing around is often
Buzzing. It sounds so nice, but really it's so loud.
yeah, they're buzzing, right? And I think it's
Feel
just
that.
finding the buzzing connection. I think we have to let go of the notion of like this like sit down conversation. Some kids will lie in bed and talk to you for 100 hours, but I think connection's about being present.
I love those two, and I'm so grateful that they have taken the time to put this guide out. And you can get that as well if that's something that you think could be helpful, especially during the holiday season. Now, moving on, I think that it's important to note the holidays don't just impact our parenting, but they can affect our relationships too. And I'm talking about with our partner, we're spending more money. There might be pressures, or there might be, relationships with, extended family or in laws, all sorts of little things that we're navigating. In episode 137, which was released on February 20th of this year, I had the incredible pleasure to speak with Dr. Mary Marano, who is a leading relationship and family expert. And so in these clips, Dr. Marano shares reminders about being responsible to and for, what that distinction is, and how we can navigate family gatherings with more care and maintaining what she calls the connection thread with your partner, even in busy, demanding seasons like this one. Let's listen.
I'm sure you've heard that expression, hanging on by a thread.
Yeah,
right?
Yes.
Things can get really busy, and sometimes, that's really the only thing that's, connecting us to the other person. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of John Gottman. He is a renowned psychotherapist that wrote The 7 Principles of Making Marriage Work. And there's a small, excerpt in there called the 5 Magic Hours. And he outlines, in such a really simple way, how couples can stay connected in their day-to-day activities. And there really are some simple things that we can do to keep that connection. How we leave each other in the morning, how we part, right? It literally takes 2 minutes to say goodbye to your partner, and then, ask them one thing that they're doing in their day. Like, if they have a doctor's appointment, or if they've got to do some kind of drop off, or they're going on the class trip. So when you come back home and you reunite, you have like an opportunity to have a 20-minute conversation with your partner. So you can keep that connection and have some dialogue that's stress-free, not like the hockey, the dance, the pick up the groceries, who's doing tomorrow morning, that sort of thing. You have a stress-free conversation, and you make a point of doing that at the end of the night, and then we have things like, making sure you compliment your partner, show that like appreciation and affection. Thank you. I love you. I haven't seen you, but you look really great in those jeans. Whatever that little bit of, we call that sort of reactive intimacy, right? And then we have things like affection, which is, kind of self-explanatory, like that, kiss goodbye, or holding some hands, or just like a touch, like as you're, kind of brushing past each other. So you're not just ships in the night, but you might just like, touch them to make sure like I'm still here, right? Like that's the thread, that we're talking about. We are responsible not for the other person. We are responsible for ourselves, how we think, how we feel, how we behave. You are half of that partnership, but you're 100% responsible for how you're showing up in it. And when we talk about responsibility too, you're responsible to show up in your relationships in general as a healthy, safe, functional adult. And so you can't control the other person. You're not responsible for the other person's feelings or their interpretation of things, but you are required to do that because you are responsible to and for your children.
Such an important
Right?
distinction.
So
yes.
absolutely, right? So that's why you and your partner are the hub of family life. And so when there is stress in that, relationship, that relationship can't hold all the tension. So where is that tension going to spill over? It's going to spill over onto the children. One of the things I would, encourage couples to do is have check-ins.
Okay.
It will minimize the struggles. It'll help maintain your connection to each other. If you can't have a daily check-in, and sometimes daily check-ins are what you're already doing, like who's picking up, we ran out of milk, and you stop, who's cooking dinner, those types of things, the hockey, the, extracurriculars. But a bigger check-in or, like a 20, 30-minute check-in, like think of Sunday evening when the children go to bed, right? Or they're sort of winding down, that you actually sit at the table and you say, okay, how are you doing? How am I doing? And how are we doing together? So there might be some logistical things like, who's paying the bill, who's taking kids where. And then there's how are you doing? So when we have an intentional check-in with our partner, and let's say, somebody left that morning and they forgot to do the kiss goodbye. You might not have liked how that person left. So in that check-in, we're coming together knowing that we're going to have those discussions. So it doesn't feel threatening. Right now, all of a sudden, we're having a disagreement, and and there's something called the kitchen sink, right? So someone forgot to put the dishes in the dishwasher. Now, all of a sudden, you always do this. You never do that. I'm always picking up the slack, right? But those intentional check-ins bring us together where we can actually start to say, like, it's okay. There's a safety here that you and I can have this discussion. And I don't feel like you're going to reject me or abandon me, because we're actually talking about the things like, hey, this happened this morning, oh my God, I was in a rush. I was late for a meeting. I can do better. I know that's really important to you. Right. So now we've created a bridge where we can freely move from one end, and so can the children, right? It's safe for them to also move through the family system that way.
That episode was so eye-opening for me, especially during such a busy season in life where sometimes I think, oh, my husband and I are just passing ships in the night. She made it feel like it's so much more doable to keep that connection going, even when the kids are here, there, and everywhere, and work is busy and family's busy. And I just really appreciated that conversation. And now moving on from the guest clips to this beautiful poem. As we approach Christmas, I honestly think that it's just so easy, and I do this myself, to get swept up in the to-do lists and the logistics, the expectations, and the pressure to make everything perfect. And so before we close this episode, I wanted to read this. I guess it might be an essay or a poem, a short story, and it just brings me back to what actually matters. So especially in a season like this, I think it's just beautiful to listen to or re-listen to. I first heard it, I think probably a year ago or so, and then reheard it in September of this year when I was at an event. And it's called A Love Letter to Right Now. And I'm not sure who the author is, but if you do know, let me know so I can certainly give credit where credit is due. I'm going to read it to you exactly as it's written, and hopefully I don't cry, but here's a love letter to right now. I'm 80 years old, and somehow I woke up in my 38-year-old body just for one day. I wake up to little hands tugging at the blankets. I blink, I sit up slowly. My babies, they're small again. I gasp, I cry. They climb into bed, giggling, wiggling. I used to rush through mornings, but not today. I pull them close, I hug them tight, I kiss their messy hair, I hold their little hands, and this time, I soak in every second. I catch my reflection in the bathroom mirror. No deep lines, no gray hair, my younger face. I used to think I looked old at 38. What a silly thought. I stare for a moment and think, you are so beautiful. I find my husband in the kitchen making coffee. He looks strong and young. I wrap my arms around him so tightly, and he looks surprised. Maybe we didn't hug enough back then, I think. We talk about the day. Nothing big, but today it all feels big. I memorize the sound of his voice. We pile into the car, kids arguing over seatbelts. Someone drops a snack, crumbs everywhere, and I used to get so frustrated. But I soak in the noise, the chaos. I know my car will be quiet and spotless for many years to come, but I'll miss the mess. I will miss this mess. Dinner is loud and unorganized. No one wants to sit still. There's shouting, giggling, a little arguing, and so much life. I don't clean up right away. I just sit and watch, trying to burn it all into my memory. And before bed, I pick up the phone. I call my mom and I hear her voice. Mom, Mom, Mom. I haven't heard this voice in so many years. I close my eyes and let her words wash over me. And I tell her I love her again and again, and I never want to hang up. And this time, I don't leave anything unsaid. At bedtime, I don't skip pages in the story. Not tonight. I read every single word. And then I ask, can we read one more book? And they say yes. I don't want this day to end. I got one more day. And this time I knew this was joy. This was love. Those little hands, the loud, messy dinners, our strong, young bodies with no aches or pains, our parents who were still alive. It all mattered so much more than we ever realized. Whew, I got through it, barely. Had to take some pauses. But if this stirred something in you, well, we're in the same boat. This season is loud and messy and imperfect, but it's also so incredibly alive and so perfect as it is. And nothing has gone wrong if it feels hard and meaningful at the same time. And as you move through this final week before Christmas, I hope you can take even one small moment to pause, to soften a little bit, to notice, to just be present for a few seconds, whether that's with your kids, your partner, or with yourself. And just know you don't need to get everything right. You just need to stay connected in the moments where it really matters. And if this episode supported you, if you got great advice from incredible guest experts, or if you heard that poem and you started to tear up, can you consider sharing it with another friend, parent, someone who might need these reminders too? And if you want to revisit any of today's conversations, the episode numbers and titles are in the show notes, so feel free to scroll through. Thank you so much for being here, for the good times and the bad and the juggle of all of the things. And from my family to yours, I wish you a gentle, connected, and deeply human Christmas and holiday season. Thank you so much for being here. Until the next time, I won't be here next week. I will be celebrating Christmas, but I'll be back in the new year, and I can't wait to see you back for the next episode of the Juggle is Real podcast. Take good care.